South Africa achieved the impossible when they defeated Egypt in the round of 16 of the 2019 African Cup of Nations. 75,000 fans were silent when Thembi Kossilot's goal went into the net for South Africa to qualify into the quarterfinals, where they will be facing Nigeria. I am Solomon Fowowe, and this is Guardian Sports, powered by Alliance Insurance. I'm all alone in the studio. I'm here with Dennis Erezi, who is going to be offering insights on what to expect from that game, South Africa against Nigeria. How's it going, Dennis?
Very well, Solomon. It's my pleasure to be here.
Before we go into that particular game between Nigeria and South Africa, I would like to get the gamut of emotions that you went through in that match between Nigeria and Cameroon. You know, it was just yo-yoing between both of them. Nigeria went in the lead, Cameroon came back, and before Nigeria got the victory. So how was it in that particular night?
Yeah, the Super Eagles of Nigeria did put up what you can call a five-star performance in that fixture, you know, putting the chestnut out of the fire to dump the reigning African champions out of the competition so far. And then you can just hail the Super Eagles of Nigeria, you know, a big kudos to the team, and then a big kudos to the coach himself, Gunnar, because going into that fixture, you would know that the Cameroonians came into that game with one thing in mind, you know, go at the Super Eagles of Nigeria physically and then expose the Super Eagles of Nigeria on the flanks, you know, knowing full well that Nigeria are actually not playing with natural fullbacks at their defensive positions. You talk about Ola, you know, naturally used to be a right back, but he's playing at left back. You talk about Chigozie Awazim. He is a centre back for his club, and he's playing at the right back for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Going into the early hours of that match, you know, Cameroon tried to exploit those loopholes, but the Super Eagles of Nigeria caught up, and then they reignited their passion.
For full thoughts of what we learned from that match, we did 5 things we learned, and it was on the Guardian website and also on the Guardian social media handles. That's why we always tell you to follow the Guardian Nigeria on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to us right now. So back to that game between Nigeria and South Africa in the quarterfinals of the 2019 African Cup of Nations. You know, the last time that both teams faced, it was a draw, and even before that, it was South Africa winning at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium. That was a 2-0 victory for South Africa. Now the South Africans, like I said in the beginning, at the beginning of the show, they did what was deemed impossible. Now, I saw that game between South Africa and Egypt, and I was super impressed with what the South Africans brought forth. I don't know if you saw the game. Do the Nigerians have to be wary of the South Africans heading into that quarterfinal?
Yeah, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have a few things to worry about, but not so many things. But I would like to reflect on a few things that happened in the match between the South Africans and the Pharaohs of Egypt. Okay. You know, while that fixture was set up, a lot of us have thought that, oh, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be meeting Egypt next. Because,
I thought Nigeria was going to be meeting Egypt.
Because we all thought, you know, the Egyptians were going to blow these guys away. But you know what? Football happened. You know what they call football? When they say, this is football, anything that can happen. That was what we saw on display. But then talking about South Africa facing Nigeria, I think Nigeria still has the chance. But then I would not like to see them approach that match, you know, with the mindset that they are facing a much stronger opposition than what the Egyptians would have posed to them. Because if you look at that game, you want to agree with me that the South Africans went into that match with 2 things in mind. Number one was that, you know what, just go into that match. You're not going to get the ball as much as the Egyptians would do, but sit back, soak in the pressure. As long as you collect the ball, hit them on a counter attack.
They were very good on the counter.
That was what happened.
Well, the pace of the South Africans has worked for them, and looking at the AFCON generally, it's been a tournament of underdogs. Despite the possible underdog status of South Africa heading into this game, William Troost-Ekong, who was on the cover of Guardian Life, said something. He said that they will be approaching this game as if it's a final. Do you think that's the best mindset for the Super Eagles to come into this?
Yeah, when you consider the quality of the match and then quality of opposition, do not forget that the Super Eagles of Nigeria fell short to South Africa in their last previous meeting. Yes, you could say that South Africa did not get all 6 points from them, but you know, on home soil at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium, just like you mentioned, in November 2017, they were in Nigeria, beat Nigeria 2-0, returned to Johannesburg, and then, you know, it was a draw. And you want to say that Nigeria will be going into that match with, number one, a mission to revenge, and then number two, on a mission to qualify into the semi-final of the competition.
Well, Mikel Obi is going to be back for that game, and now there are already talks if it's possible for him to return into the side. Some people would beg to differ on that. Do you think Mikel should start in that game?
Mikel starting for now, for me, it's a no-no.
Oh.
He should coming into the game probably at the later part of the game and not necessarily starting.
Okay.
Because Nigeria do have it working for them with Alex Iwobi.
Okay, so do you think Ganator should retain the side that started the game against Cameroon?
I expect him to make a few changes. I expect him to make a few changes because you look at the way Odion Ighalo has been functioning in front. Yes, you say that he has proven himself in the competition so far for Nigeria. You know, with 3 goals in about 4 games so far. You know, he has proven himself as the go-to man for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But rather in this match, I expect him to have a setup of like 4-4-2 formation. You know, have somebody pair Odion Ighalo up front there, because you look at Alex Iwobi, he has not really held his own. He is not so authoritative in that number 10 role. So perhaps you want to pair him up with a player like Henry Onyekuru. You know, Henry can run, is very pacey, and then in as much as you expect our wingers to run at these defenders, Henry Onyekuru can also give these defenders another thing to battle with.
Okay, well, some would disagree with you in taking out a midfield and putting another striker in that particular setup. But and the main reason for that is because you're thinking that to deal with the pace and trickery of Pesito and the likes of Thembi Kosi, Locke, who scored the goal against Egypt, you need extra bodies in the middle of the pack. But what do you think about that?
Solomon, with all due respect to this South African side, I do not see them pull so much power, too much for the Super Eagles of Nigeria to handle. Okay. Because if you have been following a few of Nigeria's players, particularly Wilfred Ndidi and Ogeneka Retebo, you know that Ndidi is a proven stopper of play. You know that Etebo is a guy that can run in at you, you know, stop all the plays. But rather, where I see a challenge, you know, ensuing in that match, is in the Nigerians' defensive duo, because so far in this tournament we've seen that Ganator have struggled to have an established backline to keep up shape in defense for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. You talk about the duo of Leon Balogun and Kenneth Omero, you know, at the match against Guinea, they held their own, and then you want to give them some applause. But what about the performance, you know, that we saw in the match against Cameroon? You see that a cross was coming in from the left. It was something you would have expected a player like Kenneth Omero to have a block, you know, and probably clear the ball off. But no, it didn't happen. And then for the second goal, you see the Cameroonian striker, you know, shrug off Ola, you know, and then put the ball past our goalkeeper. So I see a challenge in Nigeria's defense more than I see a challenge in the midfield or in the attack.
Hopefully the defense is better coordinated against Stuart Baxter's men. That's on Wednesday, 8 o'clock at the Cairo International Stadium. So what approach do you expect Ganator's men to be to have coming into this game?
I expect the Super Eagles of Nigeria, you know, to approach the game in a much more calmer approach, you know, peculiar to what you see the likes of Manchester City do. I expect to see a midfield, you know, that strings passes, that connects with the ball. Because failure to do that, you know, it might result to being punished by these South Africans. Like we have seen that they are very pacey players, but I expect, you know, the midfield to coordinate play properly. I expect to see passes stringing from the defense up onto the attack, and then as soon as that is done, you know, you can feed your flanks, like we have clearly seen in this tournament. That's the strength of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And before you know it, the goals will start coming in.
Hopefully these things come to pass, as Dennis has said, the way the Super Eagles should approach this game. But Dennis, you're not going to be getting up easy. I'm going to be asking you, what is your prediction for that game between Nigeria and South Africa?
Before I go ahead to answer your prediction, I also like to remind you and our followers that, you know, the match between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and Cameroon, I did predict, 2 score lines, 2-1 or 3-2.
Well, it counts for nothing, really.
And then all credit,
because
and then
all credits,
and all credits to me, you know. But then going into this,
going
into this match against South Africa, I think the Super Eagles of Nigeria will edge this one again. I expect to see them in the semi-final after this match. And for the scoreline, I expect to see a 3-1 victory for the Super
Are you willing
Eagles
to
of
put top
Nigeria.
dollar on that?
Yes, Solomon.
Well, fantastic. That's our package for you at Guardian Sports that was powered by Allianz Insurance. And make sure you're tuned in to all of our programs and follow us on social media platform at Guardian Nigeria, and make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel and you turn on the notification. And my name is Solomon Fowowe, and that's our package for today. This is Guardian Sports.